My name is Don Oliver and I work for IDP, which is one of the part owners of Ielts, and I've been involved in Ielts for over 20 years as a teacher and also involved in administering the test. Ielts stands for the International English Language Testing System. It involves a listening, reading, writing and speaking component. There are 4 different sections to the test, and the first part of it is listening. That takes about 30 minutes. There are 40 questions to answer, and there are 4 sections in that test. Then you have the reading, and there are 3 reading passages in the academic test, and that sort of reading is what you might find in a serious newspaper or in a news magazine. In the general training reading, you might have more passages, but they would be shorter and they would be a little bit easier. They might be related to work matters, like a set of rules for work or a set of instructions. Then you have the writing, and the writing is in 2 parts. You have task 1 and task 2. Task 1 in the academic test is where you have to describe a graph or some table of information. And the second part is an essay, where you argue for your point of view. In the general training, however, the first task in the writing is to write a letter. The second part is also an essay. And finally, you have the speaking test, which takes about 15 minutes, a little bit less. And in that part of the test, there are 3 sections. The first section is basically talking about simple, everyday matters that are related to yourself. Then you have to speak for 2 minutes about a simple topic, a place or a person you know. And then finally, in the last part of the speaking test, you have to discuss some important issues. And that's the test. Well, the IELTS test is a good test of a person's English proficiency. And so, if you want to prove your proficiency in English to an employer, or to a university, it's a very good test for doing that. And in fact, a lot of universities ask for an IELTS score, and so do immigration departments and businesses as well. Of course, it is a great help if you can show a university or an employer that your English is of a good standard. 2 versions of the test, and the first one is academic, and that is mostly used for people who want to go to university. The reading in that test is mostly of an academic nature, and the writing is a little bit more academic. The other version is called the general training, and that's more focused on English for work purposes, and so the reading there is a little bit more simple, and it has a focus on work. Test items are produced in Australia, but also in New Zealand, in the UK, in North America. The people who will be testing you in speaking are from all parts of the English-speaking world. And so, in all ways, it's an international test which is testing a person's real level of English in many different types of situations. IELTS tries very hard to make the IELTS test standard no matter where you take it. So the examiners who examine your speaking and writing are all trained in exactly the same way, and there are lots of checks to make sure that they are examining and assessing to a standard. The test that you do in Australia is exactly the same test on that test day as you would be doing in Japan or in Indonesia, and in that time zone, and every test, no matter where you do it, at any time, is a standard IELTS test. The best preparation for doing the IELTS test is to actually improve your English, and this is a task that you should attempt every day, not just when you go to school, not just in the classroom. It's something that you need to approach systematically and daily. If you want some practice in doing the test, then I would suggest you look at the test materials. You can look at some test materials on our website, the IDP website, which is called IELTS Essentials. or you can look at any of the other sorts of IELTS preparation material. The IELTS test tests a wide range of English usage. Anything that you do to improve your level of English in doing many things, in talking about many subjects, in writing about many subjects, in reading about them, that will improve your IELTS score. It's not a matter of studying for the test, it's a matter of actually studying English. And if you do that, then of course your score for IELTS will improve. Tips for anybody who finds that their ability in English is a barrier to their success in their career or in their study, my tips for them would be to continue studying English and to use it as much as possible. And sometimes we forget that when we go shopping, for example, there's an opportunity to use English. I can go shopping and never use English, but if I was learning the language, then I would make sure that I asked someone, where is the coffee, or where is the tea, or how much is that? We should use every opportunity that we can find to practice the language that we're trying to learn. You can go to school, of course, you can do many English courses, you can do many IELTS preparation courses, but really it begins the moment you wake up, your study, and it finishes the minute you go to bed. Really, doing the IELTS test does not enhance your English in itself. If you're doing an IELTS preparation course, this may improve your English, but really, as I said before, if you want to improve your English, you should study continually. Do a course by all means, that's a good idea, but the test itself, or preparing for the test, or doing practice tests, isn't going to necessarily improve your English. Universities throughout the world, not just in Australia, but in the UK, in North America, in Canada, in New Zealand, all of them will accept an IELTS score as part of the entrance requirements for all courses. Some businesses of course, are very conscious of the need to communicate, and they will see a good score in IELTS as proof that a person can communicate. So there are many places where a person can do an IELTS test. In Australia, there are lots of IELTS test centres in all of the capital cities. In Brisbane, most of the universities have some sort of IELTS testing facility, and also you can come to the IDP test centre. The IELTS test is owned by 3 partners. It's owned by IDP, IELTS Australia. It's also owned by the British Council, and it's co-owned by Cambridge University. So in some countries, you may go to a British Council centre to do the test. In other countries, you may have a choice between IDP or the British Council to do the test. In Australia, IDP is the provider, the sole provider for the IELTS test. Wherever you go, it is the same test. So there's no difference really if you go to a BC centre or if you go to an IDP centre. It's always the same test, no matter where you are in whichever part of the world. So look, if you're intending to come to Australia, or if you have already arrived in Australia, you can be sure that there are many facilities for overseas students, that your welcome will be very warm at universities and at schools in Australia. And if you want to improve your English, please remember that you have a great advantage in living in an English-speaking country. So take advantage of that. Try and speak English as much as you can, and I think you'll find